Earlier this year, I published a review of Moonrakers, a bold new take on the classic deck building formula, streamlining some areas, innovating others, and now we have a trio of expansions on the horizon, each bending and shaping the game by their whims, sometimes heightening what was already there, or in other cases, remixing it into something entirely new. The first and simplest of the expansions, Binding Ties, is only playable at 3 to 5 players as it focuses on the social aspect of the game. A new faction board under each player's console tracks the indebted favor of the other player factions, which can be cashed in for a variety of boons. While there are other sources of reputation, the main way it's gained is through allying and missions. Complete a contract together and all allied players gain a reputation of one another's, encouraging a greater level of partnership at the table. The original game had some camaraderie incentives, but Binding Ties underlines that, especially early game. If you don't chip in, you'll be left behind. How much you like the semi-cooperative element of the base game will impact how much Binding Ties really means for you. For me, it's easy to add, easy to manage, adds more flexible strategic options, and heightens one of the best and most unique aspects of the base game. Though I don't really like the idea of limiting player count, and I never really needed additional incentive to participate in other players' turns, so this expansion is cool, but is overall a fairly neutral addition. The second, and by far my favorite of the new expansions, Overload, takes what I already love about Moonrakers and just cranks it up to 11. Loads more crew, new ship mods, new missions, and a bunch of new advanced action cards that heighten or combine standard effects. Plus 2 damage and an extra action? Hell yes. Uber shields, mega thrusters, these make the puzzle aspects of playing out a turn that much puzzlier. And they look totally rad. And speaking of looking fly as hell, I admit I am a complete sucker for the shiny foil on the new flex contracts. New contracts that have big numbers that can be flexibly tackled with any action card types. They're shiny, they're cool, they present new options, they let you lean in, they're awesome. The expansion also adds head-to-head contracts with big rewards that once initiated, any player can join in and compete to see who can contribute the most, which really works to add a different layer of interaction and some boisterous braggery to the whole Sky Pirate theme. Lastly, some of the new crew members use the new Iosphere tokens, letting them persist in play until depleted, adding a simple to implement but significant strategic consideration, not to mention level of reliability as you plan out your jobs. Overload takes what's already great about Moonrakers and makes it more divergent, dynamic, and compelling. Plus, of all the new expansions, it's the one that fits cleanest in the base game box, which, if you're sitting with a lot of cardboard on your shelves, is a worthy consideration. Love this one. Now, the final of the 3, Nomad, is the biggest departure, and I'll admit, is the biggest miss for me. Replacing the old contract board with this new galactic navigation board, all of the contracts are now split up and face down corresponding to their respective color, which of course emphasizes different types of actions needed to complete them. On top of that, new events are flipped at the beginning of each turn that have some global, immediate, or ongoing effect, the latter of which are policies requiring votes from all players to initiate and remain in place until a new policy is passed. After the event at the beginning of your turn, you must move your ship to a different quadrant, revealing 3 contracts you can choose to engage with, or head back to base, completing the stay at base turn as normal. The thing is, only players at or adjacent to your quadrant can participate in the mission, meaning that with this new structure, you have less missions to choose from, adding a greater level of chance to a game already rife with risk, while also limiting the pool of players that can participate in those contracts, undermining one of the most unique and already fairly temperamental aspects of the game. And speaking of which, the semi-cooperative nature of Moonrakers already had me paying attention to other players' turns. The events are interesting and add a new dynamic layer to the game, but it comes at the expense of flow, slowing the whole thing down. Overall, Nomad changes the fundamental nature of the game, making it more contemplative and measured, reflected by the ability to flip from a 10 to 15 point score track if an even longer game is your jam. The concepts within have solid fundamentals. Because the colors lean into different action types, you're fairly likely to find what you need when hunting for a contract, but between the meticulous setup with separating out the cards and the added mechanical layers, I found that what Nomad brings is at odds with the drive and momentum that I look for most out of Moonrakers. On the other hand, the fifth quadrant, or quintant? Pentant? Anyway, the fifth area that's a mission in and of itself to unlock, then players can complete contracts there to earn new experimental equipment, is pretty dope. So 3 new expansions, 3 new ways to play Moonrakers. I really do think that there's something for everyone here, and I'm really glad that they packaged them up individually so that way you can choose which one best suits you. Whether you want a subtle nudge to up the interaction, a grand departure in scale and scope, or like me, you want an expansion that keeps the same fundamental structure but just jacks everything up to 11, they got you covered, and that is our review. But let us know, should this have been one Uber expansion and not packaged up individually? What are the arguments for that? And are there other mega expansions out there that you wish the modular elements had been sold separately? Put it in the comments below so we can see what your thoughts are. And as always, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, thanks for being an awesome community. You know that I've been Jack for the Cardboard Herald.